I just emulated a cat, so I napped in the sun, but it was really nice.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
We've had unseasonably warm and dry weather here for like the last 2 weeks. It's been crazy, and next week we're getting our first heat wave of the year. Yay!
Well, this isn't the first heat wave of the year, but it is episode 71 of the Halcyon Frequency podcast. I'm hosting. This is Blind Talking, and this episode goes live on May 28th, Sunday, 2023. I'm joined by the lovely, the wonderful, the deep, docile tones of Arch Play Stuff. How are you?
I honestly thought you were referring to FG when you said lovely and wonderful.
I'm not
well.
Gonna lie, I didn't know which direction I was going with that, and then kind of decided on a whim. But then I had to commit, so I committed.
I'm flattered. I'm flattered. I'm well. I'm up at 4 a.m. But hey, you get that on the big jobs.
And we're also joined by the amazing, the wonderful, the 15 otters in a trench coat, FG squared. Good day.
Hi, good day. Wow, that sounds exhausting. 15 is a lot. It's normally 3. 15 is a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, 15 would have been a bit much, I think. Like just
for me,
like
the
trying
number
to
just
coordinate.
goes up every time I say it.
Why didn't you say g'day to me?
I don't know. Like I said,
like I'm the Australian here. If someone's gonna get the g'day, it should be me.
I'm Canadian. We don't have culture. We just steal from everywhere else. So it's just like a random pot of whatever you get this time.
But you live in a place where good day is not really even a thing, and is it? So it doesn't count.
Yeah. I was sitting next to some Aussies in a bar last night, and they were saying a lot of that.
I don't think I'll ever hear Blind say kia ora.
I don't know how to say that.
Yeah.
Even just hearing you say that, I don't know how to say that.
So it's Kiaora, so kia ora. But the way Māori pronunciation is, it becomes basically ki ora. So, just ki ora.
I'm good.
The R
what does it mean?
Basically, be well, good health, hello. It's a greeting.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. Sounds like something that somebody from Newfoundland would say to me, and I would just look at them like, what? Which is generally how talking to people from Newfoundland goes.
To be fair, Newfoundland is that is an interesting accent, dialect almost.
One of Bellinair's regulars is from Newfoundland, and it's really funny hearing Bellinair and a guy from the UK and then a dude from Finland all in a voice call. It's like I can barely understand any of you. I know that you're all talking and you guys can understand each other, but man, sometimes when you're all talking fast, it's like I need like subtitles to keep up.
It's just that the subtitles also have a problem to keep up with that.
Because they're trying to like translate the accent and it just doesn't work.
Like
I've always struggled with the closed captions because of an Australian accent.
Yeah, that's just added comedy. And I at least if you use the closed captions tag, I've had some people pop into my stream that are like pop in specifically because of that tag. They're like, yeah, I'm deaf, so I'm just seeing like who has closed captions on Twitch.
Oh, that's cool.
So it is like worth using them, but
I use them, but I don't use the tag, so I should check that out.
Definitely.
I had someone ask, they're like, can you put them on? And I was like, hell, if someone's asking, then yes, I'll go to that and looked into it all.
The most use I've heard people saying getting out of the closed captions is like people in meetings, in Zoom calls. But like, so they have to listen to the meetings, so they just unmute the stream so they can kind of see what's going on. But like outside of that, there are definitely people on Twitch that go around looking through that closed captions tag. Yeah,
I need to get mine set up again. I need to just figure out how to do it because like the way the audio routes is like it all goes through to the streaming PC in one line. It's mixed before it goes into the line, right? Like the sounds from my PC and the mic. So I need to like run it off of my gaming PC. So I don't know. I haven't looked into setting that up because I can't just use the OBS plugin. It doesn't work like that because that just takes your entire
use a Twitch
audio
extension.
Yeah, no, I use the OBS plugin. It literally just like pings Google's
Yeah.
text to speech servers, and then because Twitch actually has like support for in video captions, it then gets saved to the video file. So even if you like port the VOD over to YouTube or download it, the captions will still be there.
In there, yeah. That's the convenient thing, but I can't do that because it would pick up everything.
Yeah, because
including game audio and that sort of stuff.
That would be really funny, but
I mean, Zeke does it like that, and it works okay. Because most of the time, you as the streamer will not actually be talking when the people in the game are talking. So it does actually work. Okay, I guess it's better than nothing, right? In the end, if you think about it, I suppose. And I think I kind of am talking myself into like getting the set up again because I really need to.
Do it. Yeah, go for it. Like,
yeah,
that sounds like what you kind of need to do.
Yeah. It's probably it's easiest to do it that way, at least. To say it that way.
So on the topic,
I'll check it out.
On the topic of uncharacteristically hot weather, as we were talking about earlier, we've had a bit of a heat wave here recently, which caused me to sleep through a meeting because like it's been, I don't know, it's like high 20s, low 30s, sometimes high 30s, recently, and like the last 3-4 days were like a little bit cooler, but we had a meeting organized for pretty early in the day, and I don't think I got to sleep that night until about 4:30 in the morning because it was so hot. And when I finally fell asleep, I didn't wake up until like 2. So I was like, I think I just slept through a meeting. I looked at my phone. Yep, definitely slept through a meeting. Felt bad.
No, it happens. But you have AC. Did you not run your AC yet? Or
I try to not set it up as long as possible because when I set it up, I don't take it down for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And it does like quadruple my power bill. So my power bill goes from like $30 a month that I pay it bi-monthly to about $220 a month that I pay bi-monthly. So like paying like $400 a month every other month is not fun. So I try my best to not set it up as long as possible. I just suffer until I can't take it anymore.
I grew up in Australia and I didn't have air conditioning until I was about 25, so I fully get that.
Yeah, I mean,
air
like I didn't
not...
have AC until I moved out either.
AC is not common in Germany at all. It's not common here in the UK either, but we splurged recently and we got it installed, like central AC. And
that's right. I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, we splurged because it's just getting hotter as I've just been talking about. We're getting more extreme temperatures, and working from home with like, even if Lex is not home, with me and my 2 PCs, especially with a new PC, which is basically a space heater anyways, like once it hits like, if it hits again the temperatures that we had last year, where I've talked about this before, it was so hot that our carbon monoxide alarm started beeping to tell us, sorry, it's so hot I don't work properly anymore. Yeah, this is worth it, even alone just for those few days, where then it means I can work relatively comfortably without dying, and especially actually getting proper sleep.
Yeah, I remember back in Australia, some days I would just become nocturnal for a week because it was too hot to do anything during the day. So you would just sleep, and then at night when I had work to do, that's when I would do it, when it was cooler.
Yeah, also you just can't sleep at night as well sometimes. Like if you hit like these temperatures where it's like 23, 24 overnight, like I can't sleep when it's that hot. Like I doze maybe, but that's it. And it's so like, I don't know how it is where you are, but here, also back where I'm from in Germany, it's not just hot, it's hot and humid. Mm-hmm. And it's killer. It's killer. Like if it's like 30, like even if it's just at night, like 24, 25, but you still have that like 80%, 85% humidity on top of that, it's just no thank you.
Yeah, the Sydney basin got very humid. The dry heat tended to be towards the north of Australia during the dry months at least. And then the Sydney area was very humid to the point that even there's like old 1950s cartoons where it's like businessmen standing in suits and they're like, it's not the heat, it's the humidity.
It is though, yeah. God.
Yeah. So it's been a very, very long running joke in Sydney. So definitely can attest to that.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, yeah, we won't run it like all that much being in the UK, but like this year already it's shaping up to be super hot because I don't know how it was where you guys are, but here, like all of the slightly less reputable newspapers that do like sensationalist things, they all went like, oh my God, El Nino is already starting. This next like 1.5 years are going to be horrible in terms of weather and temperature. And so far that's kind of coming true. Like, yeah.
Over here, at least, we had our hottest May since 1950 something, and we completely obliterated the all of the records for that year.
Oh, lovely.
So yeah, that's been fun. But you know, like the past few days have cooled off quite a bit. Like yesterday, it was like 22 or something, and it's supposed to be like 20 in mid-20s and cloudy for the rest of the week. So although today it's supposed to be quite hot, so I've got the door open all the way so my neighbors can hear me podcasting.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
I had the same, but then my neighbor decided this Friday afternoon at 17:37 would be a great time to mow their lawn. So I closed the door.
Speaking of mowing lawns, I've developed a new hobby, which is a hobby I sort of had about not last year, but the year before, and a little bit last year. But around this time of year, what ends up happening is I get annoyed with how bad my backyard area looks, and I start doing illegal gardening back there where we're not supposed to, but like gardening anyway. Anyway, so they fired our like landscapers for our building. The people that like the strata council that runs this building, it seems to be very corrupt, and I'm convinced is just like leeching money out of it into their personal pockets. They decided that gardeners were too expensive and didn't do enough. Well, they paid them for 1 hour a week to basically show up and leaf below and leave. So they decided they weren't doing enough and too expensive. So they fired them and then hired security. So now we have security that walks around the building for 4 hours every evening in a building that does not need security at all. So me and one of my neighbors have gone back to our old hobby of we're doing the gardening for the garden, except we started at 11 o'clock at night. So like Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, we both show up outside with beer and joints, and we just like grab a rake, grab a shovel, like just grab a hedge trimmer, and just start like gardening.
Are you telling me that the secret ingredient is crime?
No, it's alcohol mostly.
And
mostly
weed.
Alcohol and weed. Yeah. So we're just like out there a little bit stoned, just talking about whatever, just ripping out weeds at past midnight. And every now and again, people walk out, they're like, what are you doing? It's like, oh, you know. But a couple of weeks ago, one of my neighbors walked past me, and she's like, what are you actually doing? I'm like, planting potatoes. She's like, why are you planting I'm like, because nothing else is going to grow here. So
do you ever get those moments, FG, where you hear something that Blind says, and you're just like, that is so blind to a T?
What,
Yeah, right now, like right now, absolutely.
At 1:30 in the morning a couple weeks ago.
And even your response to the lady, like all of it is just,
Planting
it
potatoes.
tracks.
Yeah, it tracks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'll get a couple hundred extra potatoes from my backyard.
Nice.
Where I'm not
Illegal
supposed to plant
potatoes.
potatoes. Illegal potatoes,
Yeah.
yes. Well, I mean, like, nobody knows what's going on out there. Nobody weeds it. Nobody pays any attention to it. And there's just weeds everywhere. And the potatoes will blend right in. It's like they're not even there.
Why not? Go for
Nobody
it.
knows what potato plants. It was either that or tomatoes. But, like, tomatoes people will, like, steal.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You don't want anyone stealing your tomatoes.
You don't want anyone stealing your illegally planted produce.
Yeah, because, like, what are you going to do? Call the cops?
I mean, it's not like the building's gonna find me. Like, there's nobody in the building who even knows how to garden, and the few people who do are like in on it. They walk
That's
by,
it.
they're like, "Yeah."
They'll find it, and they'll have to hire someone to get rid of the plants because they
It's
don't
like-
know how to do it.
Do crimes.
Plant
So-
potatoes, do crimes.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah. Do crimes have chips?
Oh yeah, I'm all, speaking of crimes, I'm back to my urban disobedience of walking around with pill bottles full of clover seed and planting clover everywhere.
Oh, nice.
That's
There's
good
like
though, yeah.
if you actually walk around like downtown area where I live, there's a bunch of like empty lots that are just like, mostly grass that now have like these big patches of clover everywhere because
that's so
because
cool.
of me like over the last 3 years
Yeah.
just going around and throwing clover seeds everywhere.
Nice.
I remember you telling me about that, and I think I saw a video of a guy that's taken over, like, gardening of these areas. Might have been a Tom Scott video or just some random Reddit rabbit hole. But yeah, like, there's a guy that does that as well. He illegally plants, like, I think he plants like trees, small to mid-sized trees.
Yeah,
And it's crazy to see.
there's a few lots where I could actually like plant plants, but like I'm not planting plants or anything I intend to come back to or anything that like I intend to be big. I'm just planting clover. But
That's it. You plant it. It doesn't need looking after. You don't need to come back to it or anything. It's just
birds eat 2/3 of the seeds and then the rest sprout, and the birds redistribute them elsewhere. It's great.
just like nature intended.
Birds redistribute the seeds, and I plant more of them. But
Birds are communists, confirm.
well, it's great because you can get like 3 kilograms of clover seed for like $30. So
That's a lot of pill bottles of clover
Oh
seed.
yeah. Oh yeah, it's like a not small like bag of clover seed. It's a hefty bag of clover seed.
I think I can understand why you don't just walk around with a bag of clover seed though.
It's too obvious. You gotta like pretend to hide it when you're committing crime.
Exactly. The crime makes it fun. If they
Yeah.
were like, hey, come down and sprinkle some clover, you'd do it once, but you'd be like, that's it. Though if it's illegal and you've got to do it secretly, it just makes it more spicy. You're just doing like spicy gardening at this point.
Well, I think we just named this podcast episode "Spicy Gardening."
That sounds good. Yeah, I'm down.
mhm.
I'm down.
And I think we're going to go to a real quick break. And when we come back from that break, we are going to talk about the games that we've been playing this week. We will be right back after this. And we're back with episode 71 of the Halcyon Frequency podcast. And, well, it's time to talk about games. So, Arch, you've got something you would like to bring to the discussion board about, I think it's called Warlander.
Yes, I actually knew a guy by the same name. It was very funny when I saw it. I jumped on a little sponsorship here, and I don't normally talk about sponsored games on the podcast because, whatever. But I actually took this game, and I had so much fun playing it that I did a 2-hour sponsored stream of it, and I have played it for 10 hours now in the past 2 days. It is similar to, from what I've been told, I've never played it, For Honor, in the terms of you've got some very specific classes, and then Happy Wars. It's by the same developers as Happy Wars. And so basically the gist is you're an army, you are, 5 squads of 4, 4 squads of 4, and then there's a commander. You take different roles, you get, depending on your role, you get bonus experience for achieving tasks, and you can be a burly warrior, a mage, or a cute girl. Like, the cleric is just like, you can tell they spent 5 times the amount of character design work on the cleric. But it's honestly a lot of fun. There's I joked about it with chat that the art team got told 1044. You've got the big bulky medieval armor, the maces, the chainmail, castles. And then the developer team got told 1944 because you've got ballistas that are basically machine gun encampments. You've got catapults that are basically mortars and artillery.
Yeah, I'm looking at screenshots of this and I'm going, is that a mech?
Yes, there also is a giant robot. Somewhere along the way, someone got told, 3044 because there is a giant robot that you can also fire. So the gist is it's you're trying to destroy the enemy's core. Pretty simple. There's like whole bunches of defenses, towers you can respawn at, and gates. You've got to break down the gates, make your way to the core, and then destroy it. And then along the way, there's things like cataclysms, where you can either get like a meteor swarm, a giant tornado that will basically block any path, or other things like a robot. And it's incredibly chaotic, but in every battle, there is someone who takes the role of the commander. And the commander issues orders to the entire side, but you only see the orders issued to your team, right? So the commander can say, Assault Squad B, go here. Assault Squad C, go here. And no one's going to get their orders confused. So if you work with it in cohesion, it's just amazing. And yeah, I just had an absolute ball with it. The movement is fun. The actual combat is fun. It's super fluid. When I saw it, and I was like, it's like a little bit of a MOBA style, and I was like, this is gonna be a little bit jank. And played it, and I was just really impressed with how well it moves. The reviews are a little bit negative. I think about 60% positive at the moment. Most of them seem to be what is it? Bring Back Happy Wars, their original game. I don't think people liked that they stopped making Happy Wars to focus on this game. And then one was I was banned for just offering some constructive criticism in the Discord, which we all know what that actually means. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with it, and I ended up playing it like I said, quite a lot off stream, and I'll probably be playing it some more too. It's really enjoyable. I've just not played MOBA games as much before, and it's new and exciting to me.
Well, the new and exciting and fun of MOBA games will be sucked out soon enough. You'll learn to hate them like the rest of us.
Yeah, well, that's kind of it. Like, I've been jumping into different genres, not just on stream, but off stream too. I've been like, ooh, this sounds like something I've not played before, and I'm going to play it. And I've been enjoying it. And, yeah, there's been some pretty interesting experiences through that.
Yeah, I've definitely had like spats of my life where I've played way too much of certain MOBAs, and it's to the point now where if somebody starts pitching a game to me and then they use the word MOBA, I'm out. Like it doesn't matter how good the game is. I just never want to play a MOBA again.
Yeah, I think MOBAs and multiplayer games are incredibly difficult to balance, but content-wise, they pretty much generate their own content. Like, basically the way this worked is there was like 4 maps and they change every hour. So if you queue up for a battle in a certain time frame, you will always get the same map, but then it'll change to another one. And so they can focus on mostly the battle stuff without having to worry about a lot of the mostly the balance stuff without having to worry about content. And I think that's where battle royale games sort of picked up, and a lot of these things came from is because the more you focus on multiplayer, the more the content provides itself, and it's interesting to see. And also, as long as they can hit that balance aspect, it usually turns out okay. But if they can't balance it, then the game just dies so quickly because, again, it's reliant on other people. You can't just go, okay, there's not really many people playing, but I can log in and enjoy it myself. Multiplayer games die hard, whereas a single-player game will just dwindle away, but will never truly die.
I think what makes this one probably feel a bit better in terms of like MOBA, like PvPing and stuff like that, at least from listening to it, the fact that you have one person as the commander directing others probably helps to make it a bit more fluid.
Yeah,
in
and the
terms of
thing
like
is-
See, I would
everybody
agree
being
with
on the
that.
same.
Sorry about cutting you off, but I would agree with that to a point. I've played enough like of those. It's a first-person shooter, but an RTS game with a commander, to know that games like that are great as long as your commander's competent. The second you end up with a
Oh, yeah, of
trolling or incompetent commander, those games are awful. So like your experience is entirely based on the enthusiasm of one person, and if that person sucks, then the game sucks.
you have to have a certain level of experience to be able to, and you need
but
to
that
opt
doesn't
in
matter.
to do it.
That doesn't
So
matter.
there is some checks about that. It's not just going to give a random the commander, unless nobody has applied for it, and then it will pull someone random. But like I did it, and I actually really had a lot of fun. And the thing is you can also just completely ignore it. You know, the council. You know, I recognize the council's made a decision, but because it's stupid, I've chosen to ignore it. You can basically pull that. You know, you can go after your own targets. There's no duty to do that, and you could look at it and go, no, that's not right, you know. And we played assault teams that ended up staying back because the defense team sucked, or vice versa. And yeah, I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. It could be that I'm coming into these types of games with fresh eyes, and you know, I'm fully willing to accept that. You know, someone who's been playing Dota, League of Legends, and all of that might come in and go, "It is the most generic derivative game I've ever heard of." And,
I don't know if I'm
but
not
I'm
saying
just like,
that particularly.
Oh my god, it's so fresh.
For me, it's just team-based MOBA with like things you need to hit. It's gonna be very hard to convince me to be even remotely interested in one of those.
It's as successful as you know, humanity is, and
Yeah. Do I like playing games with other people? No. Does game require other people? Yes. Well, speaking of games
I am
that don't
also not a MOBA person. Like, definitely not.
Speaking of a game that isn't a MOBA and also doesn't require the people, I don't think. FG, I'm really curious about Above Snakes. How's that?
Okay. So Above Snakes came out on the 25th. Is an isometric crafting survival game set in, like, inspired by the Wild West. And I say inspired by because it's not really historically accurate. It's not the location isn't accurate, and that sort of stuff. And there's zombies. Yeah, it's a survival crafting game. So basically, the premise is you're just living your best life out in the prairie, you know, somewhere in the Wild West, and then green glowing meteors fall from the sky, and everybody is like, "What the heck is going on?" And then that turns people into zombies. So actually space zombies, also animals. And you kind of just play your story, and you try to survive as a specific character. So it is also a story game. It's single player. It has a story that leads you through the game, as in, like, you know, go talk to that person and then tell you, like, they tell you more. Oh yeah, if you want to know more about that, you have to go talk to that person, that sort of stuff. And it has this really cool gimmick where you discover, like, map tiles by playing, and then you can place them and you can kind of build your own world. It's really weird. It's like Dwarf Romantic, but a survival crafting game, because you have to, like, match the edges to build your world, and you want to, like, put, like, certain things, you want to clump them together so you can generate resources over there that you can then go and harvest, versus, like, placing everything randomly and stuff like that. It's very chill for a survival crafting game. The zombies, they're not that difficult. You can avoid most of the time. Most of the times you don't go out at night if you don't want to deal with them. And it's been very chill. It's relatively linear. Like, you still kind of make your own game by deciding what you want to work on, but it's pretty linear, because it's like, okay, go there to do that, and then talk to that guy, and that person will have a quest for you, and then go over there, and then go over there. So it is relatively relatively linear, but it's nice and chill. Like I wouldn't say it's amazing, but it's nice and it's chill, and it's like one of those games that's really good to play to chat with chat, like while you're chatting with chat, because you have something to do and something to work on, and then it's nice. It's been nice.
I'm gonna have to check this out because
I think you would really like it. I think you would really like it, Arch. Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of a few of the games I've checked out. Lod Venture, Lens Island, which I was playing earlier this week, and had on my list to talk about. I'd be love to compare notes about Lens Island and that, because Lens Island is an isometric, more or less, survival crafting game, and I saw the prologue and I thought that's all that was out. I didn't realize the actual game was coming out as well.
It is out, and it's not early access.
It's not early access.
It's not early access, which is like it's so stupid that we've come to this now, but we have to like focus on that. And no, but it's really solid. Like it's really solid. It's fun to play. It's a great game for streaming for me personally. And the art is really nice. The look of like the like how the map tiles fit together, I think is really like novel. Like the idea is really novel. It does use assets from Blind's favorite asset pack.
Nice.
It does, yeah. So you'll see some familiar things because it's
Blind.
as
Why don't you create a Steam curated group that just collects all of the games that uses that asset pack?
because there's so many, but it's a single person death game. I think
they literally
that's why.
sell the assets for like $20 every couple of months on Humble. So
They do, yeah.
like you can buy like their entire collection every couple of months.
Oh, look,
Yeah.
I don't think using asset packs is necessarily a bad
Yes,
thing.
but I hate that particular one because it's so generic and ugly looking. I just
Yeah, you just
I'm
don't
so
like the
tired
look of it, right?
I'm so tired of seeing those stupid like unibrow like low poly figures with the same goddamn mustache.
To be fair, he doesn't, or that person does not use that particular part of the asset pack.
Yeah, I don't care. It's just like
No, I'm just saying, but like you don't have the unibrow people in there. The character models actually look pretty good.
That being said, I did play through all of the Looker, and the Looker uses that asset pack. So
Yeah.
but that game was
Fun
free.
fact.
So
A game I used to work on had a various bunch of like animal sounds and such. And I was looking at doing some work with it and sort of introducing more sounds. And I was like, what assets do we have? And he's like, oh, I have a CD of royalty-free animal sounds. I could probably like save it to MP3 and send it to you. And that's what he made the game's animal sounds with. Which is why occasionally watching a, like playing another game, I will hear the sound that I'm like, that's the bear. What?
Yeah. It's weird once you start
like
recognizing that. Yeah, it's the same. Like, there are certain games that just use things from Epidemic Sounds, which is totally fine because that's what it's for, right? But like, you will start recognizing those noises and go like, I know where you got that from.
my favorite repeating sound that I've heard in a couple of different games now is the duck quack sound that's in Hunter Call of the Wild that they use for the duck lure. It's this hysterical sounding whack, whack, whack. It's also in every single Stalker game.
Nice.
So like I associate that sound like quack 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 with my friend Kevin when I'm playing that game in multiplayer because it doesn't affect the other animals. So regardless of what's happening, he's got the duck lure out and he's quacking.
Nice.
It does not matter. He'll just be like bunny hopping behind me and quacking, and it's like great. So whenever I'm playing other games, it's just off in the distance. I hear whack whack whack. I just burst out laughing.
I actually recall. Josh Strife Hayes does this video series of Was It Any Good where he plays old games. And there's some that he's like, you'll notice, like it's a game from like the early 2000s. And he's like, you'll notice this game is in a current AAA. This sound is in a current AAA game as well. And you'll listen and he'll play them both and you're just like, oh my God, that noise is that old?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, it's like there's people that like I fell down a rabbit hole with the thing a while ago, and what the rabbit hole is related to is unrelated, but there's a guy that has been working on games since the mid-90s who now works on Fortnite. And so because of that, there are sound effects that were in Tony Hawk that he made that are also in Fortnite because he made them.
This is a random ADHD sidetrack note. Did you hear that they found the original recording of the Wilhelm scream?
Yes.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
And
no, it was linked on my Discord a bunch of times. There's multiple takes.
Yeah, and there's multiple takes, and then they're like, no, we need it to be a bit more. And he's like, how about this? And then does the Wilhelm scream, and they're just like, yep, that's right. And it's just like,
that's
oh
great.
my gosh, like there's a bunch of off-brand Wilhelm screams at the start, you know, where you're like, is that Wilhelm's cousin? And and then you know, they're like, no, it needs to be a little bit more, like, you know, a little bit more desperate and fade off this way. And then he's like, okay, does it? And they're like, yeah, that's right. And you're just like, I just heard history being made. I just heard this entire, like, because the Wilhelm scream is now, it's not just a, oh wow, they're using the same scream everywhere. It's honestly an in-joke. If they fit it in,
absolutely.
all the sound guys are like, we fit the Wilhelm scream in this. And I've even heard it in games. Yeah, it is.
It's the original in-joke for Hollywood.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's I've heard it in games as well. Yeah, it's like taking over more bits and bobs and here and there. It's great.
It's really funny. You're playing a game, then you hear the Wilhelm scream, and you're just like, "Oh no, I'm gonna hear that every time." Like,
yeah,
yep,
I dig it though.
Speaking of digging it, I completely lost my frame of my.
That's fine. That's fine because I actually just thought of something else to mention about Above Snakes. So, it's really funny, and I'll elaborate on this a little bit later. But the one thing that I can't quite recommend in Above Snakes, or like what like is like really being shoved in my face right now, is that the writing / storytelling isn't very good. Like, it's ignorable because it's not really like super duper big of a concern, but like having come from a game, and I will talk more about why that is and why it's so amazing, where the story was just, and the writing and the atmosphere was just absolutely amazing, and then jumping into Above Snakes where it's not so good is very jarring. So when it comes to that to the story of the game, I wouldn't expect like a literary amazing classic or anything like that. It's perfunctory storytelling, and it's fine. It's very forgettable. You can mostly skip over the things, just grab the quests and go. It's not very good. Like when you're reading it out, there's some grammatical oddities at times, and it just sounds really stilted and stuff like that, and it's like very jarring right now, and I will talk more about later why that is, or why it's so. Yes, later when I talk about other games that I've been playing.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yes.
Well, speaking of things that are jarring but for completely different reasons, how about games that look like they came out in like 1990 or 80, maybe even?
All right. Yeah,
I've been playing Astra Protocol, not on stream, just off stream. Astra Protocol 2, specifically. The first one was a browser game. Now, I recommend looking at screenshots of this, if possible, to kind of get an actual idea of what I'm talking about. This game is old. It has no sound effects. That's something else that's worth noting. You have to provide your own, which is pretty easy. Just get your favorite space game soundtrack and put it on in the background. It is a top-down space exploration combat game. It's entirely controlled on the keyboard. So you give your ship commands. There are several different consoles that are bound to the F key, so F1, F2, F3, F4. It's like your main deck, your main flight deck, which is kind of the first screenshot, I think. Then there's your like routing for like jumping at light speed. Then there's like your inventory and systems, and then there's like engine rooms and then planet scanning. So in engineering, you can see all of your ship's systems and get the names for them. And then after that, this game comes with a 72-page manual. It says it's 78 pages, but some of them are blank and one of them's a picture, so I don't count some of them. But it's 72 pages of manual, and it's all command prompts because you control this game by typing. So it kind of looks like you're going to be playing a programming game, but not really. Instead, you're typing in set shields to 50 on set shields starboard 50, or ready laser, and then lock on ship 4 locked on, scan ship 4, target ship 4 shields, fire, and stuff like that. And
this sounds
things take time and it errors, and then the screen starts warping when you start like crashing into stuff, and then alarms start going off, and there's 5 different ships flying at you, and it's like scanned alien vessel, origins unknown, and then like everything just starts freaking out on the screen, and then you just see like shutting down sequence, rebooting, locating new starship, try again.
Wow. So this sounds
so
like
cool.
a game that would absolutely benefit from like a speech to text program.
It has some of that.
You could literally say that. Set shield starboard to 50. Turn this, scan this, and like real ham up the RP of being a commander. Once again, though, if you hadn't played this game and I stumbled across it, I'd send it to you. It's so blind.
Yeah, it's this really neat. Like I don't think you could actually play it without any vision, but like the speech to text lady does yell at you about approaching obstacles, ships, and the directions they're coming from. But yeah, no, it's just a super neat little weird game that most of my time playing it, which is about 2 hours, admittedly, has just been like figuring out things the ship can do, and each time I get a little bit surprised going, oh, I can make the ship do this. Weird. And the combat's actually like kind of engaging because the ships move really slowly, and it starts to feel like tall ship combat at a point where you'll be like fire cannon starboard, and it'll just like highlight the side, or no, it's lock cannon starboard fire, and then you'll just see like these tiny little particles come out of the side of your ship. And it takes like a minute for them to hit the enemy ship, but when it does, it's like, got him. It's like enemy ship destroyed.
Do phasers get set to stun though?
I don't think there are phasers. There are lasers though, and they can't be set to stun. But see, here's the thing: you don't phaser a starship.
Oh right.
And you don't and you don't like set them to stun when shooting at a starship. That's for a person, and this is ship combat. So I think it would be like fire torpedoes, and you just need to disable like, their main engines or something. So that would be torpedoes lock on main engines, disable their ship, don't destroy them, fire.
And then you get to yell thematic things like, don't let that ship get away.
Lock on, hail their bridge, and stuff like that.
Open hailing frequencies.
I don't know if there's hailing frequencies in this game, but like
I don't know either.
As for like actual gameplay in Astra Protocol, it's mostly just like type, set engines speed, set a direction, and then wait for a couple minutes with not too much happening, and then scanning planets and locating space stations to drop off your scanned information. So it's very much just like jumping from system to system, scanning planets, looking for planets of high value. The game itself is like quite simple. There isn't too much to do, but there is a lot of things that want you dead, and a lot of running away. It's pretty fun. I enjoyed my time with Astra Protocol. I don't know if I would recommend it as a game for stream or anything. It's kind of muted in its like its aesthetic, and it's not really for everybody, but like, it's a thing, and if you're into that kind of thing, it's a pretty cool little thing.
Nice.
And it's cheap. It's like $6.
It does sound really cool. Yeah, I'm not sure if I would enjoy playing it, but like as a concept, it sounds really cool.
It's like you're happy it exists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very much that kind of thing. It's also kind of fun, like control effing a manual to find more input commands. Because every minute I've played this game, I've had my manual up on my vertical monitor, and I've just been tapping out control effing half the time.
Could you imagine being in a spaceship with the commander and he keeps having to pull out the bloody
manual?
the manual.
Sorry, I just got this one. It's new. I need to look this up real quick. Give me one moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I unironically saw my mom do that with her electric car once.
Okay. Car manuals used to be a big thing. It used to be, we need that car manual. And I remember having to get the car manual and Dad would look up certain parts. And I think it was mostly so he knew how the wiring was and such, but not how to drive it, you know.
This also probably requires a manual. Arch, can you tell us a little bit about Albion Online?
Oh my gosh, it requires a manual, 3 hours of YouTube videos and lurking in Twitch chats to fully understand. I've been bitten by the MMO bug.
I'm sorry.
Rip,
I don't have a vaccine
it's
or
in
anything.
chat. Oh wait, there's no chat, but you know what I mean.
I mean,
proverbial chat.
I had COVID a month ago. Maybe one of the symptoms of long COVID is an addiction to MMOs again. It's an MMO that is like ARPG style view, and basically it is a fairly PvP centric one. I think we've talked about it previously on the podcast. Drongo and I took a sponsorship for this like 2 months ago, but I found myself coming back to it again, and basically there is gathering, crafting, and fighting, and the high quality materials are in PvP zones, and there's all that sort of danger. But I've really been enjoying it lately because when I was sick, I basically went through and just didn't feel like doing anything, so I'd just run around and collect items. And as we all know, anything that requires gathering resources is my jam. I yearn for the mines. If I was a child back in the 1800s, I would have been absolutely happy to take my pickaxe and go to the mines. So I kind of got into it through that, and then afterwards, and I've started, playing in the actual PvP stuff, which I don't normally do. And so there's varying forms. There's, one-on-one PvP, random people you find in the wild zones. But then they've got faction wars, which are zone versus zone, and you wind up with squads of like 60 people going against each other. And, I started hanging out with that, and it just became so much fun being part of a massive group and actually coordinating and moving around. And I've just come to really enjoy it. There's a lot to do in it. A lot of it is PvP centric, which often actually put me off the game. I bought it like 5 years ago and then was like, this game is too PvP for me, and stopped playing it. But now I'm just really getting into it and, running around collecting resources and going, okay, I'm going to go to the high danger area to get some expensive resources because I'm going to sell them and make some money for other things. The other thing, like speaking of the selling, everything in the game is player made. So the item drops from mobs are player made items. The way that works is there is a black market that buys items at a higher price, and you can basically sell items to the system. That enters the drop pool. So when you kill a mob and it drops an item, it'll have someone's signature on it. And when you're killed in PvP, you drop your gear, but some items will be destroyed. So that's how it balances the adding items into the game economy and removing them, so to ensure that there's a good balance. But it also, when an item drops, it goes, okay, I've dropped this level, tier 7 sword. I'm going to open a buy order for a tier 7 sword. And that way, someone who has crafted one can sell it sell it to the black market. And so it creates this really cool cycle. And it's just been a lot of fun. I actually plan on bringing it back to stream because I've just been enjoying it. And, I don't do a lot of the one-on-one PvP that a lot of the streamers do. I tend to do the roaming and the exploration side, which to me is the real fun part. But I just love that the game offers so much like that. And then occasionally I get absolutely ganked by someone who found me, distracted killing a deer in the forest, and then it's all over. But like even that, it's really quick and easy to gear back up. It's not like, I came from Worm where it takes several hours to craft your items, right? This is literally, items are quick to craft. They are, fairly, usually craft them in bulk. So you usually have like 5 or 6 sets of the one item. So you can be like, I've died, get my gear. You're back in the field almost immediately. And I really like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm just being mean whenever Arch talks about a game on this episode, because first one's a MOBA and the second one's an MMO.
I know.
I'm like,
it's just like
I'm just like
almost,
sitting here thinking, oh no, we're losing him.
like, Arch, come back to reality. Like,
No, what I like is basically the MOBA's just a bit of fun. That's a flash in the pan. But this is, again, bringing that love of resource collection in a meaningful way.
So what you're saying is the MOBA is the fleeting fantasy, and then the MMO is the wife.
No, Worm Online is the wife. This is just this is the emotional.
This is the
affair,
girlfriend.
This is the girlfriend,
Yeah.
You're cheating on Worm. Got it.
Yeah.
I see.
This all checks out.
Yep.
No,
Yep.
absolutely.
It makes sense.
I love resource collection in games, and I love it. Like
Nobody tell him about EVE Online. Just
Well, see, the thing for me is I love it when it's got a purpose, right? And that's kind of something that I've struggled with a lot in games is, you get to a point where there's no purpose to it.
not to be mean, but no games have a purpose, Arch.
No. Resource collection can have a purpose because if you're playing with a group, you collect the resources to build the settlement, right?
But it's an MMO. They could turn the servers off.
Yeah, I'm not talking from the grand, this will have an impact in life. I'm changing things. This is, I collect resources, I can sell them, and they're always wanted. Other games, the early game market stagnates. For this, to get high tier stuff, you need to refine the low tier stuff and just constantly upgrade it with the higher tier items, so you always need low tier items. And so there's never that feeling of nothing is selling on the market because everything is needed. And so there is that cycle. If I spend the day collecting resources, they're not just going to sit idly away. That's kind of what I struggle with Worm, and why I'm not playing Worm at the moment is because I've got so many resources just sitting in a storage bin that I don't need to go and collect anything. And a lot of games wind up with that. You're like, oh yeah, where's such and such? And they're like, oh yeah, that's in that chest. And you've just got thousands of them because you collected thousands of them and there's nothing to use them for. Whereas with this, there's always something to use them for, always something to use them on, and people always want them. And that's what appeals to me. I like playing games with groups where people go, I need this, and I can be like, I got you. But if I'm collecting resources for the sake of collecting resources, I quickly fall off. So I'm just enjoying a game that actually has a good gameplay loop that actually takes those resources and says, give me more.
Hey, as long as you're enjoying it.
I was going to say I'm envious. I wish I could enjoy a game like that. But
I haven't found a game like that in a very long time. And I desperately would love an MMO to just sink into, but
not suck?
Yeah.
Because that's where I'm at. I just want an MMO that doesn't suck.
Well, I there are some out there that are not bad, but like Final Fantasy 14, for example, but I just can't get into it at all. I just can't. And I want it. I want one so desperately, and I can't. There's nothing. I've tried so many.
I still really wish that New World didn't suck, because I think New
Oh,
World
yeah.
really grabbed me if it wasn't. Like, the visual design, the sound design. I have never praised a game's sound design, as much as I have New World. You know,
Sorry.
Sorry.
I didn't mean to interrupt. No, you go.
Oh, when you're out in the in a valley mining and the crack of the pickaxe echoes around the walls of the valley, it's just like, oh my god, I want to spend forever here. And yeah, I've never heard something as just amazing as that. But the rest of the game just sucked, and they kept letting in all of these bloody dupes and exploits.
Yeah. Resource gathering in New World was amazing.
Absolutely.
It was so good. And the fishing.
To how this is. Yeah. Albion is pretty similar in resource gathering, you know?
Yeah, but it's PvP focused and I don't like it. That instantly turns me off. I just don't like it at all.
So, well, I was just going to throw out that, because all Lord of the Rings games have been great recently, I mean, they are making a new Lord of the Rings MMO.
Yeah, they are, but it's Amazon.
Well, so's New World.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, ugh.
I'm hoping.
I'm worried.
I'm hoping they're taking what they've learned from New World. Like, New World was the first child they made all the mistakes on. I'm hoping they've taken their lessons from that, and when they apply it to this, along with the great sound design and visual design, I'm hoping that I'm cautiously optimistic. It depends whether they've learned their lesson, and given how much money Amazon has been putting into their Lord of the Rings license purchase, I'm absolutely sure there's going to be the resources to deliver on their vision. It's just making sure their vision is the right one.
Yeah, I'm not hopeful. I really want to be, but I don't know. If they make it PvP focused again, then I'm just going to be out from the start.
That's the problem. PvP is easy content.
It is, but
and the only content that matters is the content that we produce, which is why we are the problem. It's our fault. We are the reason MMOs suck now.
I don't think I agree with you.
Well, see, Arch keeps saying this thing, right? Easy content. Normal humans don't want content. They want gameplay. They want mechanics. They want stuff to do. They don't want content. Not everything is about content.
But I understood him just to meant like it's gameplay content.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
What I meant.
I don't agree that it's easy content in that way. That's specifically intentional design. Like, that is not easy content. Making a multiplayer-focused MMO.
Is you don't have to worry about level design. You don't have to worry about adding new enemies, unique mechanics, scripting AI. You literally just balance two forces against each other on a map, and they will constantly provide that challenge. How often can you go back and play the same level of a single-player game versus diving into new games of another game, a PvP game, because it's different every time? That's
not to be
what
weird, but like, have you ever heard of a video game called Diablo? There's ways to do that. But no, I feel like this is just going to end up becoming just kind of a back and forth debate, because I vehemently disagree with you that it's easy content. But
I don't mean it's easy to do. I don't mean all of that. I mean it's a decision that's made because players provide an element of randomness and an element of every battle is fresh and new that developers can't.
Disagree. Hard disagree, but like I said, we can agree to disagree if you like, because I don't want to continue this discussion.
I think it's just a different. It's a focus. It's focusing their development energy on a very different thing that will only appeal to PvP players, because people that do PvE don't care about PvP stuff, which means you end up having nothing to do. Like, for example, in New World, they clearly went all in on the PvP stuff, which is why the enemies in the world felt so copy pasted, because it was the same thing
over a new area, and the black wolves are now grey wolves.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah, and everything is just the same. Everything is just the same, and it's just all pasted together. And yeah, that I don't know. God, I really hope. Like, I don't mind having PvP content in the game. Go for it, but make PvE also matter, because in New World PvE did not matter.
So
At
that's
all.
why I love Elder Scrolls Online, because you can play that game solo.
As a single player, yeah,
quests-
exactly, yeah.
The quests feel like an Elder Scrolls game, you know? One moment you're stopping this huge plot to overthrow the rulers or destabilize this meeting. The next you're running into a cavern to save this guy's favorite sheep. You know?
Yeah.
It's very Elder Scrolls in that sense, and I really enjoy that.
It would be great if the Lord of the Rings one is more like that. Am I hopeful that it'll be like that? Absolutely not. I will probably try it out because it's Lord of the Rings and I love Lord of the Rings, but like I have currently zero zero faith in Amazon MMOs. Or Amazon games per se, because like, yeah, there was New World, Lost Ark. I mean, Lost Ark is obviously not made by them, but they published it in the West, and there were some decisions there as well. And yeah, I will check it out probably because it's Lord of the Rings, but I am not hopeful in the slightest, unfortunately.
So
and I played. Sorry.
We've still got games to talk about on this list of games, and we have fallen so deep down this MMO discussion train that I think it's time for us to route right back around to FG. Can you talk about Star Trek Resurgence? Because I didn't know this game came out.
Yeah, I can curse. Fuck yeah. Holy shit. That game is amazing. It's so good. Holy shit. Okay, bad things first. Okay, so Star Trek Resurgence came out on the 23rd, I want to say. It's and this is why a lot of people have not heard of it, and that's why a lot of people are not going to play it. Unfortunately, it's on PC. It's Epic exclusive. I know, blah, groan, whatever. Play it, buy it. It's so good. Holy crap, it's so good. It's also on consoles. It's on PlayStation, Xbox, not on the Switch. But holy crap. Oh god, like my entire chat and we just fell in love with that game.
Okay,
while
so
playing it.
What is it?
So it is a post Star Trek Nemesis. It takes place 1 year after Star Trek Nemesis. So it's very late TNG era. It's a game by a studio called Dramatic Labs, which is made up of 20 plus Telltale people. So it's a Telltale style game made by a new studio, and you play 2 different characters on this small ship called the USS Resolute, and you go on a diplomatic mission to find something out, and you uncover a plot and stuff happens. I'm not going to spoil the story, don't worry. There's you play 2 new characters, but there are a couple of characters showing up from Star Trek history that you'll know, and it's like you're in a TNG episode. Sometimes it even feels like TOS, especially because of the musical scoring. It's 10 out of 10. Like, it is like you're in a Star Trek show, like good Trek as well. It's amazing. It's so good. Unfortunately, while the story and the music and the atmosphere are all 10 out of 10, technically speaking, the game is rather and this is a really bad part. It only runs at max 1080p, so you can't run it on 4040p. I had to downscale my display so I could capture it properly for stream. For me, it looked okay because I'm only streaming in 1080p anyways. It's 30 frames only. So it doesn't go higher than 30 FPS, which is, it's 2023. That's pretty bad. So that's the real bad stuff about it. And some people have had, like, I know Dance Gaming had a hard soft lock where the game would just crash over and over and over during a decision, so he could not progress his story. It's so technically it's like some of the older Telltale games. Technically, it could be better. I had one crash at one decision, but I reloaded it and it went through after that with like for me without a hitch. So I got really lucky, and it's like the story. Like, I hope they get to make a sequel, and I hope they take all of the epic money and they make the next sequel like so good, because it's so good. It's so good. Like, I cried at the end. It's so good.
Okay.
It's like I can't say anything about the story because it'll spoiler stuff, and I don't want to spoil it because it's so good. Like, even if you don't play it, just watch a playthrough. It's not that long. It's like 13 hours. Like, just watch it. It's just so good.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's I swear, you can tell the people who made this love Star Trek. And because there's just details in there, and like it's so good. It's so good. I
Box quote. It's so good.
Yeah, no, it really is. Like, it's hard to talk about it without spoiling details, but
okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I will spare you the pain of having to try and talk about it without spoiling details. Go play Star Trek Resurgence on Epic Game Store. Go do that.
Just do yourself the favor. Do it. Like, if you love Star Trek, play that game. Yes, it's a bit janky. It's Telltale janky, but it is. You will thank me later. I swear. It's so good.
So I talked about this game last week, and I'm going to talk about it again because I think that this might be one of the most underrated games that has come out on Steam this year. This is Path of Achra. Path of Achra was, or has, I guess, a free version on itch that the developer's been working on for, I think I first played it back in January of last year. So it's been around for a little bit, but it was completely free on itch and ran in a browser and everything. And there still is a free version. It's just now the Steam demo. So if you download the Steam demo, it is the full game. It's just an older build of the full game, and saves do transfer over. So if you're interested in trying this, just go play the demo and the saves will move over. Obviously, if you buy the game, the build that is on Steam now runs a lot better and looks nicer and has nicer UI elements and stuff. But like, you can go try a prototype for free. Now, what is it? Path of Achra, I gave the pitch last time. It's a solo developed, if you look at screenshots again, you'll be like, yes, another blind game. But it's a solo developed game made by one guy, Ulfsire, who originally used to make mods and maps for Warcraft 3. And then when Reforged happened, that community just kind of like dodged. So this is actually, to a degree, him remaking one of his Warcraft 3 maps, but as a turn-based roguelike instead of a real-time action game. Now, what it is it's a build-focused roguelike. So beating the game a run takes maybe an hour. And there is some progression in it in two ways. You unlock classes by earning basically, like, I can't remember the term for it, but you earn experience as you play through, and then that experience goes back into a big experience bar on the main menu, which unlocks you new gods, classes, and what's the word I'm looking for here? I'm just completely blanking. It gives you that kind of progression. So you unlock more variety as you go. Now, there's a bunch of different... there's two different ways that you customize your character in this game. It's a build game. It's I've seen people describing it as like Path of Exile, but turn-based and only takes an hour instead of 18 hours, and you don't cry when you screw your build up because you can just start over. You pick your class, you pick your religion, you pick your class, you pick your culture is the word they use. Class, culture, and then religion. So your class is basically like, I'm a big burly dude. I'm kind of a more stealthy dude. I'm a skeleton. I'm this. I'm a that. And they all have different base stats and passive attached to them. Then you select your culture, which is like, I'm going to start as kind of a mage character with a bunch of like wisdom and not a lot of dexterity, or I'm going to be a guy with 2 swords that gets a double hit on dodge and stuff. And then the entire game becomes about stacking passives. So your god gives you 3 activatable spells, which are your prayers. You get your first one at level 1, your second one at level 10, and your second one at level 20, and your third one at level 30. And those give you more passives as well as 3 activatables. And the game is super streamlined. Like, you're not going to worry about needing to learn a billion keybinds to the point where there's actually an autoplay button that works on a lot of builds where literally you just hit tab or even hold down tab and the game plays itself. It almost becomes an auto battler. It is the first roguelike I've ever played that successfully has the same feeling as Vampire Survivors when you're doing well. Because literally all you need to do is hold down tab and the whole screen explodes and you're like, well, I won. And it's all about theory crafting. And because everything has passives and procs on it, you'll end up with a build, as an example, where one of my favorite builds is just a repeating attack build all based on dodge. So, when I walk past an enemy, I don't ever actually attack enemies. I walk past them because I want evade and dodge. Moving and not hitting gives me evade. On dodge, I double strike an enemy. On parrying their attack, because they'll try and parry my attack. On parry, I'll get an extra strike. On block, I get an extra strike. And if my evade is high enough, I get an extra strike. So I walk past 4 enemies, and instead of like attacking one guy once, I attack 45 times. And because of the god I'm using and the abilities that I have on and the spells and passives I have on that character, the entire screen explodes with thunder and lightning, because there's just lightning shooting out of this character's big AoEs of death stuff. And like, my sword apparently has an ability where if I hit 2 enemies, if I'm two-handing that weapon, then I shoot out psychic damage to everybody on the map. And so you just take one step and the whole screen explodes, and it's so satisfying. It's just this, and it does become very tactical with certain types of builds too. So if you're like, nah, okay, I want to be very like deterministic about how I go about killing things, you can absolutely play builds that are much more tactical, but like, the variety is kind of incredible. Like, you can have a build that's based entirely on encumbrance, and the more encumbered your character is, the more damage you do. So you just want really high dexterity and wisdom, and then just like move so slowly, but every single time somebody attacks you, you get a free hit. So like, you only move once for every 8 turns the enemies take, but like every time they hit you, you get a free hit. And because you have so much armor and so much strength from all of your encumbrance, you're just like a monster that just goes and just everything dies. It's a supremely satisfying little build theory crafting game that is either extremely tactical or almost an auto battler. And the last 2 things I really want to say about it is the other form of progression it has cycles. So every time you beat the game, you move on to the next cycle and the game gets harder. And so you need to think more about your builds. You need to get smarter about your builds. You need to like get better at the theory crafting over time. And the other thing is the writing is actually weirdly good. The developer of this, I don't know if he did this professionally or if it was just a hobby, but he comes from the modern poetry world. So the entire game is just filled with this incredibly dense, meaty, like almost like what's the word I'm looking for? Almost like Lovecraftian levels of like poetic writing. And it's kind of cool. And like when you, because it's got kind of an FTL map, because you start on the left and you go to the right. It's a 1-screen game, so each map is just one screen. You can see the whole map. And you go from the left side of the map to the right side of the map, right? And you get to select from 1 to 3 different locations to go to. And it'll say things like, just as an example, it is day 2 in the land of Achra. You gaze upon a green tower. You sense rocks smeared with dung and a terrible stench. Hobgoblins patrol this way. There is a rumor of marauders abroad in gold. The Runch hunt here, and there is a great mound of skulls covered in moss and shimmering purple flowers. You will find a green summoner's robe, a pair of red and orange gloves, a chest plate of wild crimson, and a robe adorned by an astral wanderer. And that tells you the types of enemies you're going to be fighting, what gear you'll get at the end, and what the boss creature is. And the more you play of it, the more you start to figure out which one is which. And like there are people in my community right now, like literally making spreadsheets for all the items in the game. So yeah, no, it is real cool. It is a neat game. It's done quite well. It's got 100% positive reviews, and it deserves it.
Sounds actually really good. Yeah, that sounds really good.
And it's like $10. So, and
Nice.
like if you're not totally sold, like if the art style is like, for you, try the demo because your progress carries over.
Yeah, I love
that's
it when
cool, yeah.
demos are a real, like, when it's like that, it carries an absolute feeling of they know you'll like it. You know, they are literally giving you the game, saying, you play this, you'll want more.
I've been shouting about this game for ages because like I put like 40 hours or something into the itch version.
I want to say, like, because like the name seemed familiar that you have talked about this before on an episode that we two were on together.
Yeah,
For sure.
Probably, but like it's been a while because like it's out now.
Yeah.
Like, it came out on the 1st of May, and you know it's real nice to see the game do well. Like the dev said that he was not expecting it to sell at all, and you know he's
Nice.
doing quite
That's
well.
awesome.
So. It's also, you know, support weird indies. Do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
FG, what's Castle of Alchemists?
Yeah, so Castle of Alchemists, the last game I want to talk about, I played this a couple of weeks ago, is basically a pixel art, top-down, indie, Orcs Must Die, but single player only. But
Okay, that makes so much more sense now. These screenshots make a lot of sense now. I've looked at this game a couple of times and couldn't figure out what it was.
Yeah, no, it's a so basically it's called Castle of Alchemists because all the alchemists are happily living together in their giant fortified castle. And then nobody can breach the walls, but they get betrayed from the inside. So they have to retake the castle. They grow you, the player character. So you are not an alchemist. You are actually grown by the alchemists. So you are basically a homunculus that they've created, which is because you level up your character throughout the maps and you mutate your character and you can build your build basically, but you also get new traps, new towers, new abilities, and all that sort of stuff. And basically your goal is to recapture the castle, but you move from tower defense to tower defense map. But it's like action tower defense because like Orcs Must Die, you as the player character also have a gun and a melee weapon, and you run around and you can also fight the enemies. It's not just pure towers and traps and all that sort of stuff. And this came out on the 17th of May. It's by a pretty small team, and it's so it is not simulation sickness friendly because it has screen shake you can't turn off. It's got the camera bound to the mouse cursor, so when you move the mouse around, it wibbles around. Yet I still played 10 hours of it on stream. So, like, it's fun. Like, I really enjoyed it. It's pretty challenging. Like, you have to be clever and you have to, like, think about how to, like slow down your enemies somewhat so you can get time to, like, recharge your abilities to, like, plop down another, like, booby trap and a little, like, shrapnel tower that you can place and all that sort of stuff. But it's really, really fun. I've also given them feedback because the team is pretty active in my chat, and they're gonna put like those simulation sickness accessibility features in as well, because you don't really, because some games like Zero Seavit have the camera on the mouse, so because it's a game mechanic, right, because you need to see further off screen, you don't really need that in this game, like, at all. So like they're gonna put some, like, they're gonna fix that. Like, you can to a degree. Like, basically what I did is I just pointed my gun in one direction and then never moved my mouse cursor around, basically. So because if you don't move the mouse cursor around, then the camera doesn't wobble. So I just did that, and yeah, it's just really fun, and the pixel art is really good, and the pixel art deaths are really good as well. So you like pour acid on the people, and you can see like their armor melting off, and then their face melts off, and just things like that. It's really fun. I really enjoyed it. It's early access, unfortunately, so there's only 3 worlds with around 5 maps each. That sounds about right, but yeah, it's really fun, and you can like mix and match, and if you have like you can get like combos that do like extra damage basically to your enemies, like combining like acid and fire, and then triple combo and all sorts of stuff like that. Like it's really fun. Like I'm excited to see where it goes. I had a lot of fun with it. Yeah.
Neat. Well, I think that's it for the games. Actually, no. Sorry. Arch has one more. Would you like to talk about Lens Island?
Oh, look, I'll drop on it quick because I've played it before in the past. One thing that I really love about this game, it's a isometric, well not isometric, but isometric view, open world game. They actually, when they released it originally, it had a set map and set plot, and they've actually taken it all back to the board and completely changed it so it's procedurally generated. It's got islands that you sail to, and I started playing one game and was like, this just feels like a cheap version of Lens Island. And so we jumped into Lens Island and just had an absolute blast. And I just want to shout it out. Like, they literally went back to the drawing board and redid almost the entire game. And I just think that's awesome.
That's cool. Okay, that actually, like, literally you saying that, I will go check that out again, because I played the demo and I liked the demo, and then then the game came out and I was like, nah, this doesn't jive with me. But if they did that,
what's different? They really did.
Okay.
They and instead of just the town being there's now quests to build it up. You've got to provide resources.
Nice.
You go exploring, and you meet, like, instead of just all the NPCs being there, you go exploring. You might be in the deep dungeon, and you'll find someone saying help, and they've been trapped there because of the mobs, and you free them, and they're like, oh, I'm a blacksmith, I can head to Bridgewatch. You head there, you need to build their house. You need to build the house, and it's not just put the materials in, it's the same square by square, decorate. All they need is walls, a roof, and a bed, but you can do more. And once they do that, you choose who moves in. You can say, I want the blacksmith to move in. The blacksmith moves in, he opens his shop, you can then buy, sell, trade, and all of that. Or, there's like the pirate gambler, there is the florist, there is the farmer, like all of that, and you actually choose. Some of them are already there, some you have to meet, but you choose who moves in. And so it adds so much more player agency to it, and so much more decision making and sort of progression instead of it all being there. And I just really love that. It was a solid little game that you did hit that point of, you're like, now what? I feel like there's not really anywhere to go. But since they've made all these changes, it really does feel like there is so much more.
Okay, that sounds cool. Yeah, no, I have to definitely then revisit that, because the actual release didn't really draw me in that much, but if they completely changed everything, that actually sounds really good. Nice. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, that's good. Awesome.
Job's done. All right. So I think now's a good time for us to go to news. We're going to go on a real quick break. When we come back after the lovely tunes, then we will talk about the news that's been happening this week. And we're back with the part of the Halcyon Frequency podcast where we talk about the news. So I'm just gonna do this breaking news. We've actually got breaking news going on. So this is a game that I haven't played and have no interest in playing. So I'm gonna kind of like ride in the coattails of you two who are much more interested, who have played the video game, I think, or at least one of you have. So FG, what in the hell is going on right now with Roots of Pacha and Cryvito? Last week on the podcast, we did talk about the base of this, so we kind of have an idea of what's going on. They've split way. They were kind of having issues, and the game got taken off of Steam. But what's our update?
So there's been an update, literally like 15, like it was literally posted while we were recording this podcast. And Crytevo, the publisher, and the developer of Roots of Pacha, which is Sodaden, have apparently, after 2 weeks of talks, reached an amicable decision. They've sort of sussed out their differences. We don't know what actually was going on, and we don't know how they sussed out their differences. But basically, they've parted ways with each other. They have, separated. Roots of Pacha is now self-published, and it is back available to be bought on Steam. And they basically both just released a they released a press statement. Both of them released the same, and it basically doesn't tell us anything, but apparently they've somehow reached a decision where both parties were happy, and the game's now back, which is great for the developers, I guess. But I still kind of wonder what the heck was actually going on. But I'm just going to actually quickly read this because it's not a very long statement. So both Crytevo and Sodaden tweeted this. Over the past 2 weeks, Crytevo and Sodaden have worked tirelessly to achieve the common goal of restoring Roots of Pacha on Steam, because it was pulled, just to add that in there in case people didn't know, because if there is a dispute between a developer and a publisher on the end somewhere, it gets pulled off of Steam. That's just how Steam works. It's I don't know exactly what leads to the automation of pulling it, but basically you can pull a lever basically, and Steam goes okay, this game is no longer on sale because there is on the back end there are issues basically.
If you kids are going to argue, we'll take it away.
We'll take it away for now. Exactly. Yeah. Apparently there's just something happening, but we are happy to share. So this is quoting the release again. We are happy to share we've reached an agreement and that Roots of Pacha has been restored to Steam for all to purchase. We would also like to share that Crytevo and Sodaden have made the decision to amicably part ways under terms that are mutually beneficial. Sodaden sincerely thanks the Crytevo team for their efforts to support and market Roots of Pacha. Crytevo sincerely thanks Sodaden for their dedication and craft that went into the creation of the game. Our collective priority has always been the fans. We hope that the restoration of the Steam store page brings you joy. Thank you all for your support. So we have no idea what actually went on behind the scenes, but clearly, because this started obviously with Sodaden, they talked about it first, and they did a thing where clearly there was some basis there for them to start acting. I assume, because I assume lawyers must have looked over this.
Oh, absolutely.
With contracts and stuff like that.
Sodaden sincerely thanks and Roots of Pacha sincerely thanks. Or Sodaden and Crytevo both sincerely thank each other. That's lawyer 101 saying,
yeah, it's
we're not
lawyer.
insulting each other. This is on good terms. Nobody get mad.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
This is just so strange, this whole situation.
It is.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I know Roots of Pacha kind of started to pick up a real big uptick, and I wonder if there was just that's it. Were the terms of the contract changed, or was the contract just slightly predatory that didn't really take into account anything else? That's the way I kind of look at it, as if you have a contract with someone and suddenly the terms are no longer favorable because X wasn't hit, Y wasn't hit, or something, where are we looking at with that? That's what I wonder.
Yeah,
It's, if you enter a slightly, a contract that favors the other person because you're not expecting that greater result, you're yes, this helps us, and then it goes really big. Did someone try and pull a shifty on the other, or did they just realize the terms didn't work, or what? That's what I want to know.
Well,
So
clearly that must have...
It's been back up on Steam for 27 minutes, I think, looking at this. I'm looking at SteamDB, and I haven't noticed a particularly large player increase yet or anything, but they did have an all-time peak of 6,000, which is not nothing. That's kind of a lot.
That's good. I mean, they've got like 1,000 reviews posted, which means roughly-ish 10 times that amount have bought the game. And I also know it's not only available on Steam to buy. You can also buy it on like other shops like Humble, etc., etc. So like, yes. No, I was just gonna say like, because if you buy a key off-site, even if you make if you then post a review or anything like that, it doesn't really count. It doesn't count in the scores and whatnot. So, that's just the numbers that bought it through Steam that we can sort of verify-ish, somewhat roughly. But more people have bought it. So yeah, I don't know if it was just a, yeah. But clearly there must have been enough of a basis here to like, not necessarily void the contract, but like get out of it for Sodaden here, because otherwise, legally speaking, this would have not been possible. So I wonder, and now I wonder, like, is this going to reflect badly on the publisher? Because Crytevo are big. They publish a lot of indie games. So I wonder how that reflects, like, if that's going to, like, change anything for people who, like, interact with them. Because, like literally we were... just talking about it. Above Snakes is also published by Crytevo, for example.
It's a very, you kind of got to wonder here, because, like, what's the cause behind it? What happened, and where did they go from there?
Yep.
I, as, if I was a developer, I would not want to enter something without being like, what happened? I need to know, because otherwise... I don't want the same thing happening to me.
Yeah, exactly. This is, interesting. And I would so love to know more. Like, obviously they're not ever gonna say, just
No,
like not to the public, but I would love to know.
It's one of those things that, it's a weird event that's happened. It's now kind of just going to fade off into obscurity, probably. I don't think we'll ever hear from this again.
No, I don't think so
would be
either.
Willing to bet that unless there's like some weird person like leaking information on 4chan in a couple of years, I don't think we're going to actually get any more news out of this. But it's just, it's nice to see the game back online, but I don't know if I trust it. That's the
I'm very curious about how, not just the lost revenue, but how everything will play out, because obviously that's a massive blow to the momentum of a game. And I'm really, really interested to see whether or not that will cause major loss there.
Yep. Could
Yep.
also theoretically give them a boost. Depending on how it works out. So I don't know. It's weird. Speaking of things that aren't going to get a boost, though, Sony announced some new things, a bunch of games, but alongside of the things that they also announced the Sony Q handheld, which is a tablet with two halves of a controller glued to either side that will stream games from your PlayStation to your handheld device.
They're
also making earbuds.
Rewording it is Sony releases the Wii U.
Pretty much, yep.
I mean, what Sony's actually done is what was the name of that? I think it was NVIDIA handheld. Hold on, let me find it.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Because NVIDIA, not the NVIDIA Shield, which is what I keep getting. It was like. It literally looked like a Wii U controller, but it came out in like 2012. Oh man.
It was oh god, yeah.
Literally Googling NVIDIA handheld Wii U. What was the name of that device? I remember because like the only person I was ever aware of that owned one was Total Biscuit. But anyway, NVIDIA made a device ages ago which kind of looks like a prototype Steam Deck. It was just like a big tablet with just like almost Joy-Cons on either side. And it like, you know, had a high-end laptop inside of it, weighed a ton, and looked exactly like this, except it like played games natively. And they also announced AirPods. So I don't know. This will sell 10 units.
I wonder. Yeah. Yeah, because I wonder how many consumers like that, because like no, not how many consumers they have, but like this is a limited group of people that they're marketing it to. Because first of all, you need to have a PS5 because this thing does not run standalone. It's streaming. We don't know if you can stream it outside of your home. They've only so far said it only works over Wi-Fi, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you can do it like wherever you are. But you need to have a PS5. And who in the world has a PS5 nowadays?
Lots of people actually. They've sold quite well.
Yeah, PS5s are actually pretty big now.
PlayStation 5, it's quite.
Okay.
You can just walk into Walmart here and buy one now.
Okay, so it's a bit more accessible. Yeah. Okay, good.
But like they're not cheap. Like if I go to Amazon right now, like how much is a PlayStation 5? A PlayStation 5 for me, if I were to buy one right now from Amazon, is 700 Canadian dollars.
Holy.
And that's the God of War Ragnarok bundle, so it does come with a game. But like, they ain't cheap, yo.
Yeah, it's 390 here, but that's the digital edition. So that's the one where you have to download games. And you can only download games.
Oh, also this is the digital edition.
Oh yeah,
it just comes with Ragnarok.
Yeah. Yeah.
The disc bundle is not currently for sale on Amazon. Yeah, I don't know. This to me looks like the PlayStation VR. PlayStation VR 2. It's just like it's in very like, which by the way I'm looking at right now. The PlayStation VR 2 Horizon Call of the Mountain bundle is $820 on Amazon in Canada.
Jesus Christ.
So like, I mean, I could buy a Steam Deck for that. So I don't know. I'll be honest. I haven't looked at price on this 8-inch screen Sony Q. How comparable is this to a Steam Deck? Hold on. Let me see if pre-orders are up. Because if this thing is even I can't find pre-orders yet. If this thing is even remotely comparable to a Steam Deck, I don't see the reason for it to exist.
The PlayStation ecosystem is like, from what I've seen, PlayStation still drives a lot of, exclusive games that are incredibly narrative focused. You've got things like Horizon that launched on PlayStation and then slowly come to PC. And there's a few things I think PlayStation themselves have said, well, look, we want games to be exclusive, and then a couple of years later we move them to PC. There is definitely a PlayStation focused core group. And totally. This will absolutely be purchased by them, because some of them don't want a Steam Deck. They want to use the PlayStation. They've already got the games they've already purchased. They've already got, all of the other things, and PlayStation Plus and all of the things with that. They don't want to have to rebuy games. They don't want to have to move over. And, they're used to that. I mean, PlayStation has their VR system as well.
Which is ludicrously expensive and sold terribly.
Yeah, but the thing is you still have it. Like, it's constantly scalped for a reason, because demand is so high.
Not in the case of the VR stuff, but no. The demand was so low that they made less than they were anticipating. So like, I don't know.
I'm not talking about the VR. I'm talking about the console.
The consoles aren't scalped anymore. They're super readily available. They were scalped.
Yes, they
for a
were,
while.
and there is still a huge, like, even Xbox themselves have said they lost the console war.
Well, no shit.
You know, no. I'm not saying. There is an incredibly huge group. It's not just a smaller niche. It's like saying, why are you playing games on PC when you could just buy a PlayStation?
Yes, but if you have a PlayStation and you're sitting at your TV on your PlayStation, why in the world would you sit elsewhere in the same house? Anyway, I don't think this device needs to exist. Is all I'm trying to say. But there's no announced price for it yet. But the rumors are between $200 to $300.
It's for a very niche group, but I mean I can somewhat see it. Like if you have, I don't know, let's say you are a family and you only have one TV, which nowadays isn't really the case, but I don't know, Daddy wants to watch football on the big screen, but Timmy wants to play PlayStation. I guess you can stream it through this, right? But it doesn't really, like, I don't think this is a device that's going to drive a lot of sales.
It's not a unique selling point. It's more just if people are driving towards more handheld devices. I mean, if they really wanted to push the handheld devices, they would release a new PS Vita or something. They clearly don't. This is more just trying to get in on that thing, and maybe it'll work with cloud gaming in the future. Maybe that's part of their focus. This is early tests and stuff. I don't really know.
What is cloud gaming?
Cloud gaming is gaming on somebody else's computer.
I'm going to have that catchphrase stuck in my head for the rest of my life. Like I can't even remember the name of the software anymore, whatever it was, but that cloud gaming solution from 2014 that nobody used and didn't work.
Stadia?
No, not Stadia.
Oh God.
Hold on. What is cloud? What was that even from? What is cloud? I think Sony somehow ended up buying it. Meme. What is cloud gaming meme? Let's try that. Because it literally became a meme. I can't even remember. But
the one thing I'll say is basically I see so many AAA studios pushing the same non-innovative stuff. Innovative stuff. There's the word. I like seeing companies like PlayStation go, we're going to try doing this. Even if it doesn't work, it's at least someone's out there innovating in the AAA scene. Or at least attempting to, because everyone came back from that PlayStation showcase with it's
OnLive.
Okay.
That was the name of it.
Yeah.
OnLive. They were around from 2009 till 2015 and seemed to have
That's a good run.
Well, they launched in 2014 and they shut down in 2015, so not really.
Oh, okay. I thought
That's
you meant
a bad run.
The company existed from 2009 till 2015. But yeah, no, OnLive was the name of it. They are now technically owned by Sony,
who has just released a system that could probably benefit from cloud gaming at some point.
Yes, but they've been renamed. In 2015, it was announced that Sony Computer Entertainment, now known as Sony Interactive Entertainment, acquired OnLive's patents, and all of OnLive's services will be discontinued in 2015. Sony-operated PlayStation Now is a similar service built using infrastructure of Gaikai, a former competitor of OnLive, until it was merged with PlayStation Plus in 2022. So, anyway, what is cloud gaming was their catchphrase, basically.
Right, okay.
Yeah. From Mountain View, California. Sorry, I had to figure that out. But yeah,
no, absolutely. I get that. I get that brain itch when you have to just have to know and you have to just satisfy it. I get it. Trust me. I think Arch gets it too.
Talking about it.
Absolutely.
What is cloud gaming? What is cloud gaming? Anyway, what is cloud gaming? You know what isn't cloud gaming is me ending this podcast. So this has been episode 71 of the Halcyon Frequency podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, check out our website, halcyonfrequency.com. But before I rattle off the actual end sequence, I'm going to say 3 Otters in a Trench Coat, FG Squared. Who are you and where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, sometimes I'm 3 Otters in a Trench Coat. I'm sometimes also to Curio Woe Jess, depending on, what I want to do. But generally speaking, I am live on Twitch 5 days a week. And if you want all my stuff, just go to fgsquared.tv. It's got links to everything, and have fun with that.
Arch plays things or something sometimes. Who are you and where can people find you on the internet?
I'm Arch. I play stuff. You can find me on all platforms as Arch Play Stuff. I'm very glad I added that end bit, because otherwise, I would have had to be like, oh, I am Arch _, 5.
Human of mankind exist here on the video game stream platform. I am Blind IRL. You can find me at Blind IRL on almost everything. And if you better like Dwarf Fortress, because otherwise, I'm sorry. It's Dwarf Fortress and weird things. If that sounds good to you, look me up. I'm BLIND IRL. And if you want to find more episodes of this podcast, like I was saying a second ago, halcyonfrequency.com. And new episodes go live every Sunday. The music, the intro and outro music that you're hearing is by Peter Pohl and Paul Mile. And until next week, don't touch that dial. This is Halcyon Frequency, signing off.